Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for joining us. This is going to be just a short 10 minutes video looking at our latest project in the UK, the Solarium. This is a London project in Kew Bridge, just on the west of London. And for the sharp-eyed amongst you, you might notice that actually the Solarium is a project we launched a year ago while still off plan, but we have always planned to launch phase 2 once a project is completed. So now, after the initial 32 units, we have another 15 launching this week, which are going to range from 1 to 2 beds from about 380 to 560,000 pounds. And these have been pre-furnished and pre-let. So something slightly different for our investors, and something slightly de-risked, which you can perhaps add to your property portfolios. But here then we're going to look a little bit about the London investment case, why we're looking to get into this particular region of the city, and just a reminder really about the city itself and what good value that potentially can have for investors. Firstly, of course, a little bit about IP Global. I think most people on this video are likely to know a lot about us, but over the last 16 years, we have bought and sold over $3 billion worth of property in 28 different countries in the world and about 45 different cities. But we are a full end-to-end property investment company who can provide everything for our clients through the whole journey. Specifically, in terms of track record in London, London's probably been our biggest market in our 16-year history, and we entered London in a significant way in April 2009, which was the month the market turned around after the global financial crisis. We, of course, now do property all over the UK in secondary cities and places in the north, but here what we're seeing is just to highlight some of the projects we've done across London. A lot of them used to be involved with Crossrail, but not much used to be actually in Western London, which is particularly the historic moneyed, more wealthier half of the city. So what we're going into now is an opportunity where it's about to go through a lot of regeneration, and maybe the prices have come off a little bit since Brexit, and some of those wealthier suburbs have a little bit more value now. So London is a true alpha city. I think it's worth everyone reminding, really. Yes, we haven't been buying a lot of London in the last 5 years because of Brexit and what happened there, but it still has remained a global safe haven status. That we see here, the Globalization and World City Research Network has crowned London with the highest Alpha Plus status, something it only shares with just New York, but it is a vast city. It's 9 million residents, which is by far the biggest city in Europe. This alpha status is important for the foreign direct investment, for its people considering it a safe haven place to put their money, and long-term safety overall. But it is the world city for high net worths and ultra high net worths. It's 7th in the list of cities with billionaires as residents, and considered the #1 finance capital of the world. Within that, there are 500,000 people who are employed in the finance sector in London. And to give kind of some reference there, that's about the population of the city of Lisbon itself. So an awful lot of people involved in finance. London is a global leader for culture and tourism, with about 21 million visitors per year, bringing in extra funds to the city. And very much a multicultural city. It's very much an open door, open market policy of the city, which has been very successful for the last couple of decades, particularly, and over 200 languages spoken in the city. It is the #1 global city on the Power Index. We're having seen 126% GDP growth since 2000, which is one of the highest in the world. New York, for example, has seen about 104% in that time. And so it's in terms of overall, in comparison to other cities in the world, it's 4th in the list of full GDP, and #2 in the world for the wealth overall of its citizens who reside in the city. In terms of employment and incomes, then, what we see here on these graphs are a perfect storm really for property investment. We see employment rates in the top graph going from a high of 9.7 in 2011, having dropped down to 4.4% just pre-COVID. It's now actually just gone over just 5%, but the general consensus is that by the end of 2022, we should be getting back to pre-COVID levels for unemployment. But in the same time, what we see here in terms of the orange bars is overall household income rising dramatically over this time. So less people unemployed, more people having cash overall, which is perfect for people being able to afford the higher rents rising and then property prices going forward. The graphs we see at the bottom here then is a comparison between 2010, 2020 and 2035 of overall household income. Particularly what we like to see here is the third bar, the light blue or grey bar we see there. That's households with an overall income of over £100,000, and that's rising from 2010 to 2035 by 303%. So a much wealthier city with much more affordability overall. As we all know, it's all about supply and demand. That's what we're particularly looking for. And to give kind of a context, London with its population is expected to get to 10 million by 2035, which is it's 4 times larger in terms of population than Paris and 2.5 times the second biggest city in Europe, which is Berlin at 3.7. So just kind of giving some context is just how important a city it is in there. Part of this growth in population is students. We have just under 400,000 students in London at any given time across 40 universities and higher education facilities there. And particularly its retention rate, 72% retention rate of students, which is far higher than mostly any other city you'll find worldwide. So it really maintains its talent and those people who are going to be earning higher wages in the future. Of course, then with a growing population, we want to see growing supply in properties, which is conversely exactly what London doesn't have. Depending on who you listen to, we need to have about 65,000 homes built in London each year. And the top targets for what they can potentially build is set out around about 55, the capacity, but actually the 10-year average of what's been delivered is around about 20,000 homes a year. So with an extra 70,000 people coming to London each year, only delivering 20,000 homes and delivering essentially 20% of the needed housing, we have a chronic problem with undersupply, which is perfect for us as investors to see the pressure on rents and prices to go up. And we can see at the bottom there in terms of statistics, London has actually been the highest transacted market in all of Europe in 2021 with 16 billion there. So certainly the investors are back and putting their money back into the capital already. So the project, Solarium, this is a conversion of a office block, which was built, I think, sometime in the 70s there. But what we have then is a full refurbishment to the highest quality. So what we're looking here is very much a post-COVID property. It's very much about lifestyle. The amenities in this property are second to none. We're looking at having both access to the city centre, but also access to lifestyle. So we'll look a little bit more about this in terms of the boroughs around it, but very much wealthy, very much attractive. But this is a property which has everything for tenants inside it. So 292 apartments in the building. Our units here are on just the 4th and 5th floor, between studios, 1s and 2 beds. As I said, the prices are range from about 380,000 to 560,000, and yields anywhere between about 4 and 4.8%. And these are real live guaranteed yields because we have already pre-tenanted and put the tenants in them. Of course, we have, compliant cladding. We have the right EPC, the electrical certificates for everything, and so this is a property which is ready to go for investment. In terms of mortgages, we can get up, depending on where you live in the world, up to 75% LTV. So just a 25% deposit plus acquisition costs is what you'll need. The finish is one of the highlights of this property. We've got very high 2.7 meter ceilings. We have USB plug sockets. There's very, wooden joinery, all white goods to a high standard, all fitted in there, and very much with the mindset of people who want to live and work from home potentially as well. So there's office desk space going to be put in there, and just cleverly, laid out units basically. So amongst this, in the building itself, the facilities are high. We have a cinema room downstairs. There is a gym. There's a usable boardroom for people who want to work there. But equally, we have a roof deck so people can get up to the top and relax there, and then equally get to the city quickly when they need to. The area. For those, a lot of people will probably be familiar with this area. We can see here the boroughs around it are very well known. You know, as we're going out from the city centre, we've got Chelsea just around the corner and the river. But Chiswick, that's a borough which is kind of defined by, you know, Michelin-star restaurants peppered around and a village feel. But average prices there of kind of around about the 986,000 in 2021. Just to the south in Kew, where we've got the Royal Botanical Gardens and Parks, the average price is there around 998,000. And then Richmond, just to the south there, which was voted the second happiest place to live in the UK last year. Their average price is there about 1.24 million. So the average prices in around Brentford and Hounslow as a borough, on average around about the £460,000. So huge value compared to its near neighbours, but also then a big opportunity for regeneration. We're seeing 500 million being spent just across the road from where this project is, called the Brentford project, which includes everything from residential, commercial, and also a football stadium for the newly anointed Premiership team, Brentford. So what we see here is a value opportunity, a very established area, but also an area of opportunity and regeneration area, which is quite rare to find in this area of London. Just to the west, leading out, there is what we call the Great Western Corridor, or the Golden Mile. It's what Rishi Sunak, the Mayor of London, has called the biggest regeneration project in London since the Olympics. So it's going to count out to just over £20 billion across 3 boroughs there in terms of regeneration, really connecting out the west of London, getting back into the city centre. So positioning here is all important, and also being able to attain that lifestyle. If you go to the roof of the building, you'll be able to see in terms of local employers here, GSK, GlaxoSmithKline, Sega, Allianz, Dell, these are all visible in walking distance from the property itself. But equally, you know, in terms of access to the city centre for jobs into the city, Kew Bridge is about a 4-minute walk from the property, which should get you into Knightsbridge within 14 minutes to the city centre. Say Waterloo in 27 minutes, or Clapham Junction 18 minutes. So very easily accessible that way. Going the other way, outside of the city towards Heathrow, you can get to drive to Heathrow in 13 minutes, or on the train there in 15. So there are 3 different stations which are walkable from this property, with Kew Bridge being the closest. So here, yeah, to say, the picture we see at the bottom here is the building itself here, next to the A4 road, and just across the other side is the major regeneration project of £500 million being spent right on the doorstep, which is just a part of the major regeneration this side of West London. So really what we see here is obviously a very attractive area, an area of great potential, and so what I would call very much a tenant-led property, you know, all about lifestyle and easy access back into the city for tenants. A good value for the regeneration, and very much safety of investment, and particularly because obviously we already have the tenants in there. So thank you for listening to all this. I hope it was useful, and by all means, if you want materials, you want to see this fast facts or anything with the floor plans or cash flows for the property, reach out and we'll be more than happy to help. So thanks very much.